The gunfight at Blazer's Mill erupted in a flurry of violence on April 4, 1878, amidst the turbulent landscape of the Lincoln County War in New Mexico. This clash embodied the intense rivalry between two warring factions comprising ranchers, merchants, and politicians, each vying fiercely for supremacy in both economic and political realms within the county. One faction was led by James Dolan and Lawrence Murphy, who had the support of the local sheriff and some corrupt officials. The other faction was led by John Tunstall and Alexander McSween, who had the support of some local ranchers and businessmen. The war began when Tunstall was killed by a posse sent by the sheriff on February 18, 1878. Tunstall's employees and friends formed a group of vigilantes known as the Lincoln County Regulators, who swore to avenge his death and bring justice to his killers. They were led by Dick Brewer and included Billy the Kid, Charlie Beaudry, Doc Skurlock, Frank McNabb, George Coe, Frank Coe, John Middleton, Jim French, Henry Newton Brown, Fred Waite, and several others. One of the men who was accused of being involved in Tunstall's murder was Andrew L. Buckshot Roberts, a buffalo hunter who had sold his ranch to Dolan and Murphy. Roberts claimed he was innocent and wanted to leave the area immediately. He had received a check for his ranch, but needed to collect it from Blazer's Mill, a sawmill and trading post on the Mescalero Apache Reservation. Blazer's Mill was owned by Dr. Joseph H. Blazer, a dentist who served as an Indian agent. The place had a large two-story house, a square office building, a sawmill, a grist mill, several adobe structures and houses, a post office, a general store, and some corrals and barns. On April 4, 1878, Roberts rode his mule into Blazer's Mill, carrying his Winchester rifle with him. He tied his pack horse to a tree and crossed the Tularosa Creek with his mule. He was soaked from the waist down when he reached the other side. He did not know that the regulators were also at Blazer's Mill that day. They had left Lincoln after killing Sheriff Brady and Deputy Hindman on April 1st, and they were looking for more of their enemies. They had stopped at Blazer's Mill to have a good meal at Mrs. Godfrey's restaurant, which was located in one of the adobe buildings. Roberts went into the post office to get his check. He left his gun belt with his knife and pistol hanging over the saddle horn of his mule. He did not notice John Middleton, one of the regulators who was standing outside as a lookout. Middleton overheard Roberts's name and recognized him as one of the men they were after. He quietly slipped into the restaurant and told Brewer about Roberts. Brewer said he had a warrant for him and asked for volunteers to help him arrest him. Frank Coe came out of the restaurant to talk to Roberts. Coe was a neighbor and friend of Roberts, and he hoped he could persuade him to surrender without violence. He walked with Roberts to the west side of the main house and sat with him on the steps. He showed him a newspaper from Las Cruces that supposedly cleared him of any charges related to Tunstall's murder. He asked him to give up his rifle and come with him peacefully, but Roberts refused. He said he did not trust the regulators, and he feared they would kill him if he surrendered. He kept his rifle on his lap, ready to fire. Coe and Brewer argued over what to do next. Brewer was impatient with the standoff and decided to take matters into his own hands. He asked for volunteers to join him in arresting Roberts by force. Chuck Beaudry stepped forward, followed by Middleton, McNabb, Brown, George Coe, Frank's cousin, Skurlock, and Billy the Kid. They cocked their guns and walked around the house towards Roberts. As they turned the corner of the house, Roberts saw them coming at him with their guns drawn. He jumped up and aimed his Winchester at them. "Not much, Mary Ann," he shouted as he pulled the trigger. He hit Beaudry in the belt buckle, knocking him down and breaking his gun belt in half. The same bullet then ricocheted into George Coe's gun hand, mangling his trigger finger and burrowing a groove down the barrel of his revolver. Beaudry's shot hit Roberts in the stomach, but he did not fall. He staggered backward towards the doorway of the house, shooting rapidly at the regulators. He wounded Middleton in the chest and grazed Skurlock with a bullet. Brewer led the charge, yelling, "Get him, boys!" He fired at Roberts but missed. Roberts fired back and hit Brewer in the head. Brewer fell to the ground, dead. Roberts reached the doorway and slammed the door behind him. He barricaded himself inside the house with his rifle and a pistol he found on a table. The regulators took cover behind trees and buildings and exchanged fire with Roberts. They tried to rush him when his rifle was empty, but he had a pistol and kept them at bay. Billy the Kid was one of the bravest ones who tried to get close to Roberts, but he was knocked out by the barrel of the Winchester when he reached the door. "Damn you!" Billy cursed as he fell to the ground. The gunfight lasted for several minutes until both sides ran out of ammunition. Roberts managed to barricade himself inside the house, while the regulators retreated to tend to their wounded. Frank Coe cried out when he saw his leader fall. He ran to Brewer's body and checked his pulse. He was gone. "Brewer's down!" he shouted to the others. They realized they had lost their captain and their friend. They also realized they had no chance of getting Roberts out of the house. They decided to leave Blazer's Mill and head for McSween's ranch in Lincoln. They took their wounded with them, leaving behind Brewer's body and Billy's gun belt. Roberts died the next day from his wound. He was buried near Blazer's Mill by some friends. Brewer was buried in Lincoln by his comrades. The gunfight at Blazer's Mill was one of the most famous episodes of the Lincoln County War and showed the determination and courage of both sides.